What's going on? In this tutorial, I want to show you guys this modern stacking containers with a dynamically controlled element in Elementor WordPress with containers. Let's jump right over onto the computer and get started. Here is a demo of the stacking containers with the dynamic tabs. As you see here on the left, once an element reaches the top of the screen, basically it gets a class sticky. The icon will change. Now this is just a cool, adds a little bit of a modern flair to your website. It helps draw the attention of the viewer to what's actually right in the middle of the screen. Where this came up in practice for us as a client of ours had multiple locations and had stats that they wanted to show. Yeah, so let's jump over into building this number one and then getting this all to function correctly. Basically what this does is it taps into Elementor code. So what happens when you make something sticky, what Elementor does is once it reaches, let's say these all have sticky tops. So once it reaches the top of the screen, it will actually get a class. So this container will actually get a class called Elementor sticky active. So what we want to do and what we did is we tapped into the existing Elementor coding just with a little bit of JavaScript that basically also gives these over here, which we gave classes as well. It gives these classes an additional class of active. And so what happens is that once one of these gets the class active, the icon switches. And now how did we achieve this icon switch? We did this with a before pseudo element. So this icon is completely added as a before pseudo element. So basically all that's happening is that element is changing technically when it gets the class active. So let's jump over into building it. Enough talking. You can also skip this whole tutorial if you want and just download the JSON file and have this working. But I'm actually just going to show you how to build this and like what the code means. So if you're curious, if you want to alter it, that's what the rest of this tutorial is going to be used for. So here we have that same site. It's built very easy. There's different ways that you could actually do this, but in terms of like how it's displayed, like these tabs, for example, could be on the top of your screen, always anchored to the top of your screen, and sticky as well if you wanted as you scroll down. They could be your different service levels. They could be used for a lot of different things. But let's just jump into making this really quick. Quick note, let's actually just give this a little bit of a color. And then I'm going to copy over just the text just so we have some content going on in these real quick. Paste, copy, and then paste. So what you're going to be doing to start this all off is you're going to be giving these sticky effect of top. And I wanted to show you something common that happens a lot when doing this is that let's actually add a border radius to make it look a little cooler. Now again, you can style these however you want. Typically I would give something padding with percentage. So let's say I give it a 6% padding. What's going to happen is you see this element actually changes size when it becomes sticky because the container that it's in technically changes size. So it's using a different percentage. So what you're going to do is make this more of a static. If you're going to be using padding, give it some static padding. Let's just do 60. So now you see once it becomes sticky, it does not change size. So then what we're also going to do, the reason we made 2 columns is we want to make sure it stays in column. And now we are just going to duplicate. So now we have 3 elements, which all are sticky. And then let's just change the colors so you guys know which one we are working on. Boom. So now we have 3 elements, which are all sticky. And as you see, it just kind of changes the color once the other one hits the top of the screen. So we're going to want to give them Z indexes. So the following, so let's say this one we're calling tab 2. It actually goes above tab 3 and then so on. Let's give this a Z index of 3. So now we have 1, 2, 3. Last but not least, I have a menu. So what we're going to do is offset it so it is not going behind the menu. So we are just doing that here. I happen to know my menu is 80 pixels high. So So we're just going to offset this a little bit more by doing 100. So now it always stays below that menu there. So offset this as 100 again. So boom, there we have those containers working correctly. Last but not least, let's add, I'm going to make this, add an icon list here. And then what we're actually going to go do is delete this icon, because again, we're going to be adding that icon just with some simple, semi-simple CSS. And last but not least, let's just name this tab 1 text. And so what we're actually going to want to do is give each tab, so let's make 3 tabs. We're going to give each tab a class. And then we're going to want to also give each container, or I call these tabs as well, we're going to want to give these an ID. You could use a class as well, but I just happen to use an ID. So let's go through and make these IDs. So I'm actually going to give these a different class than what is in the JSON file, just for sake of not tapping into the code that's already on this page. So I'm giving this one CSS ID of tab 1, and we're going to give the yellow box CSS ID of tab 2 with the 2 written out, and then so on tab 3. Now we're going to want to go in and add some classes to these text headers, more or less, on these icons. Now, as you can see, you can't add a class natively inside the icon list. So what you're going to actually do is give these spans. So just write some basic HTML, and you're going to give them classes as well within an HTML span. So let's just give this tab 1 text. And then let's close that span. Oops, I could write code, that would be nice. Span, and then we will do that same thing here. So span class equals now we have tab 1 text, tab 2 text, tab 3 text. We can name this, I'll just name this tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. So now you get an idea of visually kind of what we're going to be doing. Now, I want to give you guys some insight into how I actually built this, and so basically the next part is we're going to want to add a pseudo element onto these tabs with some CSS, and so you will need Elementor Pro for this, and you will have needed it if you've gotten this far. But I'm just going to click on this, go into advanced, let's just move my face out of the way, and add some custom CSS. Now I actually just copied and pasted this code over, but we're going to change it. So here I just copied and pasted some code over that I already had written, because I don't want to write it all live again. But as you see, we'll need to change these. So let's add that. Let's make that 1. Let's make this 2. And then let's make this 3. So those should have, I write tab 1 text. There we go. That is why there's a common thing that we do wrong. Span class. Oh, I was being stupid. So here's something that I commonly do wrong. Just added the wrong icon. So now we see we've added these icons before. So now that we have copied and pasted this text in and added those span classes to these icons, you will see that I have a before pseudo element. So basically what this code does is we just give it, you can write tab, just write this code, you can copy and paste it over. But basically what's going on here is we're making a before pseudo element before this. We're setting it inline. We're also giving it some content. So I uploaded this icon to my website, so you could make them any icon. You could design your own icons. For example, instead of kind of checkboxes. They could be little dots that fill in. So it could just be an empty dot where you just get an SVG circle, and then you upload that SVG, copy and paste that link into here, and then just go ahead and set up the size with width and height, and then just play with margins and transform is what I also did to change the size of it. So for example, if I made this scale 1, I saw that was huge. If I made it 0.1, that's a little too small. Made it 0.2, and then I just like moved it around with margin left, right, and top. And then basically what happens is that Elementor, like I talked about before, we should also make this sticky onto the top, then give it an offset of 100 as well. So boom, now it stays with the screen. Now what we need to do is actually copy and paste that JavaScript code in now to give it an act. So what's going to happen is that JavaScript code that we copy and paste in is going to give these texts an additional class once one of these reaches the top of the screen and gets a class that Elementor gives it called Elementor Sticky Active. Now, to give you some insight into how that works and how I figured out that you could tap into that, if we go into inspect element on this page, let's just back and right click. So as you see, I am on tab 1 here, so you can see the CSS ID. You see it already has Elementor Sticky. Now what happens, let's watch what I have highlighted here as you scroll down and it reaches the top of the screen. You see that the screen flashed, and what happens, oops, it reloaded. Let's go back into what I was working on. So we'll be able to actually see this again. Let's watch it flash. Boom, it flashes there. And what happens is it actually gets this class of Elementor Sticky Active. So we want to utilize this tab, getting Elementor Sticky Active, to trigger this text. Here are tabs on the left to also get an additional class. Now, how do we do that? Again, some JavaScript. So I'm just going to copy and paste over that JavaScript so I don't take up a bunch of time, but I'm going to talk you through basically what's going on in this JavaScript. So let's paste this JavaScript. Also don't forget in the CSS that you add that we are going to want to give these. I'm just duplicating what I did for the classes there so that I'm on the same page, so that we're not using the code that we used before. So let's copy and paste that JavaScript code in. That second stuff that I just added is actually so as you see, once tab 1 also has the class once tab 1 text has the class active, it basically changes what this before pseudo element is, and I just changed the image that it's sourcing. So that's how this works right here. Let's look at this JavaScript really quick. Basically what happens, number one, what it does is it removes active, first of all, from any tabs. So let's fix these, say 2, and then 3. And then it's going to say if tab, and it's going to have some logic. So if tab 3 gets the class Elementor Sticky Active, tab 3 text will get the class active. So if I scroll down, you will see that is now working because I changed this code. I also need to make this stay in column. So boom, that'll stay in column now. So let's go through and just change the rest. So boom, if tab 2 has that class, that automatically gets added. Tab 2 text will get the same thing, and tab 1 text, it doesn't need to check tab 1 just because that one's going to be selected first of all because it's the first thing on the screen. If you don't want it to be selected, you could also add that same logic. So you could add if or else if, and then also add if tab 1 has class this. So you could have that unchecked until it hits the top of the screen. I just had it checked just because that's the first thing people are going to be reading, and then as they scroll down it will change. So that's how you build it. Let's just make this responsive really quickly here. Also, don't forget, if you need hosting, we use Siteground. We've used Siteground religiously. Use our affiliate link below. It does help the channel. We are not sponsored by them at all, just an affiliate link. We've used them for, I don't even know now, 6-7 years. We've had 20 plus websites, have never had a website hacked, have never had any issues. If we ever came across something that we can't figure out in terms of hosting for whatever reason, you can hit up support, and their support is amazing. That's one of the reasons we went with them in the first place, is that they have amazing support. So thanks for checking this out. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around for some more. Have it execute. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This is just another take on the stacking containers, modern take on stacked containers with the dynamic tab element. This was a fun one to do. Some more fun tutorials are going to be coming soon. Keep a lookout for those.